Welcome to the Equipped Disciple channel. My name is Rick McClatchy. I will be your host. We are here to be and to make disciples of Jesus, and we do that through daily devos, through Sunday sermons, and through other discipleship resources. We are here to equip you. All right, welcome into another day of your daily devos. I'm Pastor Rick, and super stoked you're here. Thanks for coming on in today. We are going to jump in to the book of Proverbs, chapter 25. We're going to finish off the chapter today, verses 15 through 28. Treat your enemies like what? Treat your enemies like blank. How should I be treating my enemies? I got some ideas. I definitely got some ideas. We're going to see what the Bible has to say on how we're supposed to treat people that are listed as our enemies. Are you ready? If you could, in the meantime, before we jump in, if you could like and comment, subscribe, that would be phenomenal. All right, so we're going to jump on into verse 15. A ruler can be persuaded through patience, and a gentle tongue can break a bone. If you find honey, eat only what you need, otherwise you get sick from it and vomit. I was really honing in on verse 15 there. A ruler can be persuaded through patience, of just the particularly poignant power of patience. You know, what happens when you're willing to wait, when you're willing to take your time and you're not rushing to something? Because, man, when you're not in a hurry, you're a little bit more in control of the situation. And it can make a huge difference on the outcome of what you're dealing with. Take a silly example of buying a car. And if you're not in a hurry to buy a car, you're much more likely to get a smoking deal because you're going to be able to take your time. You're not going to be emotional. You're not going to be just taking the very next thing that is offered. And the power of walking away and being like, no, thanks. That's, then really drives the seller to come after you and offer you a better deal, to try to convince you to walk home with this product that you so desperately need, And so patience can, a ruler can be persuaded through patience, and a gentle tongue can break a bone. Volume is not needed for strength in communication. Sometimes the quietest comment can have the most impact. And so just to be thinking about how you're communicating, when you're communicating, how am I communicating this, and how is it going to come across, and am I choosing the right thing? And then if you find honey, eat only what you need, otherwise you'll get sick from it. Like, little bits of honey are good. A little too much of honey, oh, wow, you can get yourself in a bad place. Jumping into verse 17, seldom set foot in your neighbor's house. Otherwise, he'll get sick of you and hate you. And this is just the classic, don't overstay your welcome. Don't come over uninvited, too frequently. Like some, neighbors are neighbors, and you got to borrow the eggs and the sugar and the whatever, But don't be coming over all the time. Don't be harassing them, essentially. Like, be aware. Be aware of other people and what they're going through. Otherwise, they get sick of you and hate you, right? So that's not where we want to go with these relationships. A person giving a false testimony against his neighbor is like a club, a sword, or a sharp arrow. It's destructive. It's painful. It wounds. And those are what all of those things do. So a person giving false testimony against his neighbor, don't do it. Treat your neighbor with love. Love your neighbor as yourself, right? That's the Jesus command to us. Verse 19, trusting an unreliable person in difficult time is like a rotten tooth or a faltering foot. I mean, just saying rotten tooth makes my mouth hurt. Ouch. I mean, toothaches are some of the worst pain, I feel like. So trusting an unreliable person in a difficult time is like a rotten tooth or a faltering foot. You want to make sure that you're kind of vetting people, right? To understand their reliability, their trustworthiness, their commitment to follow through doing what they say they're going to do, so that when push comes to shove, when the hard time arrives, you know who's trustworthy and who's not. So you're not putting your confidence, your weight of the issue in their hands, only to find out that they're not reliable, only to find out that they're going to let you down. Singing songs to a troubled heart is like taking off clothing on a cold day, or like pouring vinegar on soda. So if you've ever poured vinegar on soda, it causes a big mess. But taking off clothing on a cold day is not recommended. Like, it only makes the situation worse. And that is, putting vinegar on soda causes a big boisterous reaction. And taking off clothing on a cold day can cause a reaction of its own kind, right? Because it's really like the opposite of what you need. And that's really the point here. Singing songs to a troubled heart, it's not what they need right now. Like, what's your deal? Like, we need to not be so in a hurry to get people through their grief or trouble, and spend a little more time just being with them, like bearing one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. Just get next to people and help them carry the load. Don't be so concerned about where the finish line is, and be more concerned about where their heart is. So singing songs to a troubled heart is really problematic. Like, and when you're with somebody, when I read troubled heart, often I think about grief. I think about pain and suffering. And it's just like, people just need you to be there. They just need a friend. They just need somebody that can support them. So don't be just singing a song. Like, actually pay attention to what their heart needs and reach them on that level. If your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. And if he is thirsty, give him water to drink. Verse 22, for you will heap burning coals on his head, and the Lord will reward you. So how many of you think that giving food to eat or water to drink if they're thirsty is a good plan? It's like, hey, Solomon, they are your enemy. Like, they are your enemy, bro. Did you realize that? And so, no, I don't want to give them food to eat or give them water to drink. I want to watch them suffer. I want to watch them writhe in pain because of the pain that they've caused me. I mean, right? Isn't that kind of what it boils down to sometimes? What does it even mean to heap burning coals? I mean, that sounds good, burn his head, burn that guy's head right off, but that's not actually what heaping burning coals on his head means. Burning coals are actually a blessing. You're supposed to bless your enemy. Because burning coals actually were not coals that were actually on fire. It was coal intended for burning. That would heat your house. That would be something you could cook over. That was a lot of supply because it was expensive. So if you heap burning coals on the basket that he's carrying on his head so he can take it home and use it, that is heaping burning coals on your enemy's head. That's the kind of treatment we're supposed to give to our enemies. That's why the Christian life requires repentance, because how many of y'all walked into this video thinking, I know what I want to do to my enemies. I want to give them burning coals of fire on their head to bless them and to encourage them and to make their house warm. Probably not, So Jesus strikes again with his counterintuitiveness, and he wants us to repent, to change our way of thinking, to put away the way we think and agree with his way of thinking. The north wind produces rain, and a backbiting tongue angry looks. It's predictable. Better to live in the corner of a roof than to share a house with a nagging wife. And the nagging wife has made a return today. coming back up in Proverbs, just to remind us again. I think that it's really healthy to live, whether you're a husband or a wife and you read that verse, is think about how you might fit into that verse. How do you fit into that? How do you as the husband, is stuff that you're doing causing your wife to feel like she needs to be a nag to keep coming after you? Is it because you're not listening? Is it because you're not responsive? Is it, what might you be doing? If you're the nagging wife, you got to step back and ask yourself, why am I behaving like this? Why am I acting like that? Why do I do that? Or because we're going to assume that there's actual nagging going on, right? Not just I feel like you're nagging me, but actual nagging going on. And so I think it's so healthy for us not just to, as husbands, point to the verse and say, yeah, stop nagging, but for us to take responsibility for what part of that could we have a play in that's actually causing the situation to be worse. So better live on a corner of a roof than in a house with a nagging wife. Good news from a distant land is like cold water to a parched throat. Oof. So refreshing. Good news from a distant land is so refreshing. A righteous person who yields to the wicked is like a muddled spring or a polluted well. A righteous person who yields to the wicked basically destroys themselves, right? Because what good is a spring or a well when it's been polluted or muddied? It's like when Jesus talks about the salt losing its saltiness, like you lose the very essence of why you're supposed to be existing. So don't do it. Don't yield to the wicked. Be the righteous person that God has intended you to be. Follow Jesus. Obey him. It's not good to eat too much honey or to seek glory after glory. Coming back to that honey remark, honey is good in little bits, but don't overdo it. A person who does not control his temper is like a city whose wall is broken down. A person who does not control his temper is like a city whose wall is broken down. Vulnerable to attack. Please learn to control your temper. Learn to not be quick-tempered, hot-tempered. I mean, how many times have we gone through that particular concept here in the book of Proverbs to get it through our heads? Like, no, this is a big deal. I need to think about my anger. I need to think about how I manage my emotions, because I know that my emotions are terrible dictators, but really great indicators. They're indicators of what's going on inside my heart, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be guarded, what needs to be protected. So put those burning coals of fire on your enemy's head. Love them, love them, love them. Give them a drink when they're thirsty. Feed them when they're hungry. Because we know that the gentle answer, the patience with let's just take a look here. A ruler that can be persuaded through patience and the gentle tongue that can break a bone. Man, so powerful. Our words, our attitudes towards our enemies. So let's go. Let's be a blessing. God bless you. Have a great day, and I will see you.